and welcome to another TCAP recap. Tonight we are looking at the strange creature that is known as Lurch, or James Travis Fowler, busted in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and given a pretty stiff sentence. He got 7 years and 4 years, 9 months on federal and state charges because he crossed from Tennessee into Kentucky. They served concurrently, but still, it could have been worse. That's a nice chunk of time for a TCAP Predo. Better than what they gave out, like the Long Beach special or whatever it is. Just, probation and RSO status. Funny thing about the RSO status, James was already on the RSO from a prior molestation charge when he was 22. His name was 22. Her name was Adriana. As Cherry Griffith confused. Oh man, he's gonna be the next one, I think. Tomorrow's gonna be Jerry Griffith, the pie Predo. He was one of the first ones I ever tried to make, but I forgot to save it, or I couldn't figure out how to save it. So that one, gone. Lost to the sands of time. But this guy, yeah, he was 22 and the girl was 17. So he was also just out of range of the Romeo and Juliet laws they have there, I guess, where if it's within 4 years and it's consensual, they can I guess they don't get charged, or it's not the same. But doesn't matter because he was outside of that range, and he got put on the RSO, probation as well, and like a month in prison. Oh, no, wait. He got the month in prison when he didn't register when he should have, when he moved. And, yeah, so this RSO Predo is crossing state lines to meet a decoy. And you may ask yourself, why? Why would he put himself at so much risk? Why cross state lines to do it? Could he really not resist, or what is the deal? And number one, no, I don't think he could resist, because he is here to pleasure and be pleasured. Yes, he's a blunt man, but he's so bizarre. He's definitely creepy as fuck. Lurch is a good name because it kind of communicates the sinisterness of this guy. He got the name because he lurches at the decoy. He gets up out of the chair and starts walking towards her as she's talking, and he just doesn't answer anything she says, and then just lurches at her. And boom! Chris Hansen steps out, blocks his path, puts him back on his heels, and sits him back down to give him a spanking. But, yeah, this guy, he's beyond that. The way he moves, he's just like very awkward and stiff, and the way he speaks, it's like he's a cyborg but without the upgraded software in his head. So he's like the cyborg that they could make look just like a human, but the software just wasn't quite there, because he talks in he talks in mysterious ways, man. First, he wants casual fun. So he wants to know if she wants casual fun. She says straight up she's Natty. Quite the name by the crew of Perverted Justice. Ooh, I still have this on. How do I turn that off? Okay. But yeah, Natty, 13, female, Kentucky. And he's very aware that he should not be talking to her. This is a bad idea. Crap, it didn't turn off. What? Anyway, so he's on here to find casual fun, and he can't chat with her because the way they chat, it doesn't work for him. It's boring. But how he puts it is the mystery. That why I on here to enjoy and have pleasure. That one's just kind of bizarre and funny. It don't want to get in trouble, say the wrong thing. So he's referring to himself, is it? Maybe he just is trying to say I don't want to get in trouble, but the T and the I keys aren't that close. So he had to, move to press it. And I like to pleasure people and be pleasured. That's his iconic line. And this is just one that I'm not really sure what he's trying to say. The decoy asks if he has a pick in response to his same question. And he goes, no, I see they do same thing. We all okay with it's a thing adults do. What is he saying? So, no, I see. That's one, sentence or one clause. The next one is, they do same thing. Then, we all okay with. And then the next clause, it's a thing adults do. That's, 4 clauses? But they don't line up, and they're missing entire words that they need to make sense and to finish out what he's trying to say. That's just the first one. He says his name is JT, so he's lying, because he knows he's not supposed to be doing this. And so she's kind of expressing, shock, or just wow, you really meet people. Well, I had luck and having luck this weekend. It's like he can't conjugate the verbs quickly enough, even though he's typing. Or he just can't be bothered and he just types the basic forms. It's confusing because when he's talking, he still retains the jilted, stuttering. It's not a stutter, but it's like a word stutter where he just skips entire words. But he still can think on his feet, and he's definitely got that low cunning of a Preto. But he knows he's totally fucked the moment Chris walks in from his prior experience with the same situation. Even though he was in a much, much better position then. Because 22 and 17, not okay. Just fucking find somebody your own age. It doesn't make sense. I personally don't even, if a 30-year-old is dating a 20-year-old, just what do they talk about? Because it's just such a gap in ages that I don't understand. I don't know. I just would not enjoy talking to myself when I was 20 at all. So, anyway, I don't want to insult anybody. I was a particular asshole when I was 20. Not saying all 20-year-olds are that way, but I guess it's a maturity thing, and everything moves so fast nowadays as well, technology. My sister is 10 years younger than me, and she's on a different plane of existence with social media and everything that I am just too old and slow to figure out. But back to Lurch. I'm sorry, I digress. He finally broaches the subject of meeting her and says, you ever had a time you ever wanted to meet anybody before? And that's it. That's when the subject has been broached. He's decided to go for it. He's ready to go. He still expresses reservations throughout the chat. He's very worried about it being him getting in trouble. He doesn't seem to be that worried about it being a sting. He doesn't necessarily accuse them of being cops or anything. He's much more worried about the parents finding out or something like that, the neighbors. And he follows that up really fast. He says he would, but it's against the law. Reiterates that she's 13, he's 34, thus sinking any any defense he has of denying that he knew her age. And the decoy says, just numbers. Smooth move by the decoy. He gives the 1-2 punch here. I would hurt your private. The decoy says, why would you want to hurt me? Travis replies, Lurch replies, when you have sex, it will be too big to go in your part you pee from. Oh, Lurch, buddy. The public school system failed you. Big time. The urethra is not the vagina, dude. I just tossing that out there. You probably won't ever hear it, but in case you're still confused, the decoy says, "LOL, Z lols. You would really want to do that?" Which is fucking hilarious. I think because the decoy meant to say exactly. So, you would really want to do that? Stick it in the part I pee from? But it also tricks Travis, Travis Fowler. For fun, adults understand you will very soon. He gets adventurous. When you get real brave, you can try the ass. Men love that. So trying to twist her head as well as groom her. Imagine if this was an underage girl. She's getting just this horrific experience, getting raped for her first sexual experience, but also just being told this shit that, it's only the product of Travis Fowler's sick mind. Not all men, men don't generally necessarily love any one thing, and for him to just make anal sound like a normal, cool thing that all the guys are into to an impressionable kid, it's just fucked up on another level. He continues to say his is too big for yours, and while I suspect it's serving many different purposes for him, it's asserting his manhood, he's the big swinging dick, what I think he might even think that he's being like a nice guy by considering it to her out loud. That's how fucked up this guy is. But the darkest aspect of it is that I think he's running a risk assessment in his head of, if it does hurt her, am I going to keep going and forcibly rape her? Because in his mind, he's not really doing anything wrong by having sex with her, consensual sex with her. But if it turns into non-consensual, forcible, he's a big dude. It would be ugly beyond word. It's just horrible to think if it actually was a girl there. Thank God Chris Hansen came out to sit his ass down. But that's what he's doing here. He's running a risk assessment and deciding how far he's willing to go. He 100%, in my opinion, decides that he's going to have sex with this girl, whether she wants it or not, once he decides and makes that drive. He throws in a little bullshit. Well, we'll get to it. He makes her promise that he's not going out there for nothing. But the fact that he keeps on bringing up, oh, it's too big. I think he's bringing, if he just brought it up a couple times, I would just say, oh, he's just trying to, show off and brag. But since he keeps on bringing it up, I think he's seriously just debating with himself via her if he's gonna just keep going if it hurts too much for her. And yeah, that's what the sinister aspects of this guy just increases so much when you start to understand what he's saying in this proto-English. He loses it. He can't think about it. I try not to think. So he's, talking about sex and that, whatever. She says, it kind of hurt the first time, but my friend told me it's a lot more fun after that. And he says, but ... in which he wants to say, I'm bigger than, your boyfriend. He starts talking about the boyfriend's dick soon, just like all the other predos, but he has to take a break. I can't think. I'm too horny to talk. Oh, god damn, Travis. So he starts making the demands here. I want to know, if meet, you will let me pleasure. The decoy just says, lols, sounds fun. Not really an affirmative necessarily. And he states, I will drive from Tennessee to KY to Kentucky. This is a weird warning. You can't tell no one in case something happens later in your life. Like, is he talking about her... What does he mean if in case something happens later in your life? Like, is he talking about PTSD from this traumatic thing happening to her? Don't tell the therapist that it happens, or don't tell your parents. The vagueness of it is especially unsettling. And just... that one's sinister. So he follows it up with a comedic note just to lighten the mood. He says, just keep it in memory how good it felt to have 8-inch in your ... And then he gets into talking about the boyfriend's dick. He says, dude, you fucked with small, right? Well, was it hard? Okay, well then its size. Was it about your one finger size? I assume he's talking about pointy finger? She says, no, it's bigger than that. He says, is it bigger than a peg dispenser? Decoy says, maybe. And that's all he wants to know. He shows her his dick and sends the dick picture. And I actually have the censored version right here. I don't know what perverted justice was doing with this pixel job, but the pixel job, like, relative to his body is way too far out. They were way too generous to this fucker. They should have just blackened out, just, like, erased it in Photoshop, if that was around in 2004, or when this came out. 2006, I believe. Oh, no, 2007, sorry. Bowling Green was 2007. They could have just, made it a little nub and then just put one pixel there. Like, fuck, come on. I gotta do all your thinking for you. It's too late now. I guess I could do that myself. I'll probably do that. I'll just Photoshop. Okay, I'll get to that after this. Okay, I'm convinced. I've convinced myself it's a good idea. He gets into not wanting to... Well, okay. I just don't want any issues, but one, in my life, I ain't wanting nobody to get serious with been divorced. Just like sex and sharing it. What is this guy? I can't... The way he writes is too much. It's got to be, like, broken down. We need a Rosetta Stone to Travis Fowler's dumbass. So he keeps going, shows his dick, and he gets a little insecure and says, when you see it, type. The decoy says, wow, cool. Oh, good move. The decoy was on point during this conversation. This one is... I think this should be a more iconic line, but it gets a fair amount of fame. It's very funny. I want to have pleasure. I really don't want that happen. A bunch, no strings, fun, no calling, just first big man dick sex for ya. Again, he's just reiterating that he wants it to be a hookup. And the way he puts it, it just has that ring of whatever, it's anti-poetry. That's what he's writing here. Just take the decoy's responses out and you'd have... Ugh. Who wants that? The decoy is cracking Travis across the face and he has no idea. He says he wants to try to come for ya. come for her. But can you make yourself hot and type it as you're doing it? Dude. I just can't help but read it in his just weird, breathy, like... Oh, you'll hear it. You'll hear it. I don't want to keep, like, digging into this too much, so we'll keep going. He does... Okay, you can't mess this up. I told my cousin I might be going to the races. It's an hour 42 minutes. And that fateful line, you have nothing to worry, just don't let me walk into anything while I'll pick up you tomorrow. And what does the decoy do? Lets him walk right into something. And he ends it because he's got to go. Friend wants me to enjoy her. Alright, peace out. He finds the time, though, to give us one nasty little blast of his personality. He says, you have hair on your puss yet? I like eating puss. God damn. Okay, let's get on to watching this bastard get popped by Chris Hansen. Shout out to Stacy Babst for posting the video. Thank you very much, Stacy. And let it roll.
Right here.
Meet 34-year-old James Fowler. He's been chatting.
Just look at that walk. Look at him walk across.
Right here.
Meet 34-year-old James Fowler. He's been chatting online with a decoy posing as a 13-year-old. Calling himself You Want Come and Get Me 2005.
He even has that weird way of writing his screen name.
He wastes no time getting to the point.
I like to pleasure people and be pleasured. I just don't chat. I meet. I want to know, if I meet you, you will let me pleasure you?
I love the narrator's reading of Travis Fowler's chat log. This guy, nominate him for something, because everybody's on point in Travis Fowler's sting. It's a good thing. It's a great thing to see.
Sounds fun.
Then he turns on his webcam and shows her his private parts.
Boom.
The next day, he's walking into our living room.
Look at this. We got...
Christ, you just want to, like, scream at her, run! Run! Grab a knife! Because he's just running after her and just...
His private parts. The next day,
he's just living up to his name.
He's walking into our living room.
Look at this. We got these sweet new chairs. Sit down. It's so cool. It has, like, a massager in it.
Others have mentioned, I think Walls has mentioned, or maybe Fast Daddy, probably Dave's Lemonade for sure, but Travis doesn't want to sit in this chair. He wants to get that decoy and just rape her and get it done with. Let's not mince words about what he wants to do. Regardless of what he thinks he's doing, that's all he wants to do. And his body's just all in on the rapiness of it. Just being a fucking creeper to the max, man. This guy could give lessons on horror movie monsters. With the actors that play the monsters. Of course, we wouldn't want him doing that or being around anything anywhere if possible, but he actually did get busted and arrested again when he showed up at his girlfriend's son's high school graduation, I think it was, because he's not allowed to be within 200 feet of a school. His dumbass shows up, arrogant enough to think that he could get away with it, but of course he's a recognizable guy because he was on national television. Did you forget about that, Travis? He might have. He's not too bright. Alright, he does sit down in the chair, though, thank God. Because if he hadn't, I think Ron Knight would have had to step out and just knock his ass down. Flatten him.
If you push those buttons, I got him to sit in the chair, and I was just sitting on the edge of my chair. That's pretty cool, right?
Yes, wow.
And then out of nowhere, he just stood up and started heading towards me.
Just before he gets to that, imagine what he's seen from his side. He comes in expecting sex because in his mind he was very clear that he was just there for sex. And instead, this 13-year-old girl is like sparkly and bubbly and telling him to sit down in the chair. And he does it. I mean, she has that much authority that he actually sits down in it. But it probably threw him off a significant degree. And that's why he makes this next desperation move. I know for a fact on this one, but Dave's Lemonade does a great breakdown of this part of the scene, that he just wants to break that physical barrier and touch her. I think he definitely wants to do that, but I think it's more than that. I think he was going to wrap her up in his arms and start kissing her and just seeing where it went. And he wasn't worried about being gentle or acting like a decent... Obviously not, because he's here already. But he's not like some of the meeker predos who don't seem to have it in him to like forcibly rape somebody. This guy seems like he could put somebody down and do it.
Do you want me to get you something to drink? He was definitely headed towards me for something.
Like, that was so freaky. She's saying, do you want me to get you something to drink? And he ignores her totally. That is a question that demands an answer. When it's said to you that closely, you not answering that is sending extremely clear signs that you're not listening to a word that person's saying. And when you combine that with the way he rushes her, it's clear, like, if he was rushing this way at a man, you would say they're going to fight. Like, he was going to tackle him. Because he totally just bats aside the question, beelines in, trying to get her. Even if she's backing up and clearly indicating that she doesn't want that. She's giving clear signs of not consenting to whatever he's trying to do. And nope, he could give a fuck.
Started heading towards me. Do you want me to get you something to drink? He was definitely headed...
He says that little... I think he was getting himself psyched up. He...
stood up and started heading...
Even this guy, who's already been down this road before, needed to psych himself up a little bit, because he's just been hesitant throughout the chat log to a certain degree, only because he wants to not get in trouble, not for any care about the decoy. Like, this guy treats the decoy, one of the top predos when it comes to treating the decoy just like a sex object and not caring less about their well-being or anything, as evidenced by the chat log. So let's see this one last time, and then the savior, Chris Hansen, enters the scene.
Towards me. Do you want me to get you something to drink?
Oh man, every time I see her back away like that, it just sends shivers down my spine. Like, this controlled situation, even in this controlled situation, you're scared for her, because this guy gives off such sinister vibes.
He was definitely headed towards me for something.
And that face, he meant business.
And started heading towards me. Do you want me to get you something to drink? He was definitely...
that face meant business.
Headed towards me for something.
Have a seat right over there where we were, please. No.
Oh!
What's happening?
Oh man, we gotta watch that one more time. This is one of the better reveals in TCAP. I say that for most of these videos so far because we've been hitting some really good ones. That's the point, getting out the good content. And I'm definitely gonna have to go and redo some of the earlier ones because I don't feel like I quite hit my stride back then, but that's another day. He knows, like, the moment he sees Chris Hansen's face, that everything in his life just shattered. He knows what's going to happen when he gets arrested. He knows when he gets to the jail. He knows what the court proceedings are like. He knows that he has a record, so he's going to get hammered, and he's not avoiding prison this time. I mean, he can probably hope that he can cut a deal, like other predos have on this show, but the predos who are on their second strike or third, like JPW, they got their asses handed to them. So he didn't have any reason to hope to avoid prison. And in this moment, I'm sure that he's convinced he's going to prison. So I'm really glad that the state of, Kentucky and Tennessee and the feds could make that happen for him.
He was definitely headed towards me for something.
Have a seat right over there where we were, please. No. What's happening?
And Chris gives him the pointer finger of authority. Why don't you have a seat right over there? Chris saw what was going on. He keeps close tabs. He didn't need or want to use a witty one-liner. He wanted to put this guy on his ass, in the grass, defenseless. Just get rid of all that fucking horniness and threateningness.
Please, sit down. What's going on?
Again, for the second time, Travis Fowler has been made to sit in a chair he really doesn't want to sit in at all. That's like the one thing he hasn't wanted to do since he's come in here, sit in this chair. Oh, I wonder if he had a precognition, like, this is a weird fucking setup, that these two chairs, these two lazy boys are facing each other head on, where if you put the legs up, your feet would be touching or more likely enmeshed. It's just a bizarre setup and makes all the predators who didn't notice anything was wrong are it just goes to show their state of mind. And speaking of the other predators, Travis Fowler and Lauren Armstrong were both busted on the first day of this sting. So this sting started off with a bang with some of the more memorable people of a very memorable sting. Like, basically all these guys, the Bowling Green 7, all of them are pretty good. You could just do all of these for commentaries and not miss a beat, because each one is just as entertaining as the last. They don't get stale. But anyway, we're now moving into another phase of life for Travis. It involves Chris sitting down and grilling the fuck out of him. Chris is gentle. He asks if he can sit down in the chair. Like, he wants to get Travis on the ropes and then really hammer home how much disgusting shit he said and how fucked he is.
I thought this was never going to happen.
You thought this was never going to happen?
Yeah.
And what do you think this is?
It's not good.
Now, what was your plan?
Yeah, it's definitely not good for him. It's great for society as a whole, though. What he's talking about is getting busted again. That's what he never thought was going to happen. Which is fucking ridiculous, man. How could he not be... He just, hook, line, and sinker, fell for the decoy. Didn't stop to question whether she was real or not. And the illusion was kept all the way up until Chris popped out of that doorway. So, he's pretty stupid. I would give him a 5 out of 10 because he's kind of right on that cusp of, like, going into the higher echelons or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. The higher levels of predos, as far as intelligence, Dr. Wolins. But he's got a long way to go. But he's, 5 or 6 in intelligence. And, man, this is just such a sweet segment.
Here tonight.
Have a time.
Have a fun time.
Yeah.
With a girl who told you she was how old?
I think it was 13.
And how old are you?
34.
He's just being honest. He knows he's busted. He knows what he said. And he knows that if this is the setup right here, and this man in a suit is grilling him, that he's been caught up in a sting. Something big. It's not just her father or something. He would probably prefer her father because he would rather fight the father and hopefully get his ass beat to a paste. But he would rather take his chances with that than with whatever this is. Because he might, if he gets his ass beat, maybe the guy will let him go. They never would, hopefully. I mean, call the police on him and get him arrested. It's not like the movies where they just beat your ass for a while and then say, you've taken your punishment, you can go. No, people nowadays, no, they're calling the cops.
Says he drove an hour and 42 minutes to get here.
And during that drive at all, did you think, man, this is a bad idea?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Should have turned around. Should have thought about it.
Have you met other people before on the internet?
Sure, consent. Older. I mean, everybody's old, I've never done this before.
What?
He is shell-shocked, man. He has no clue what is going on. He, like I said, he thought the decoy is real, so he, at most, or probably at worst, expected to deal with the family somehow. Something like that. He doesn't have a plan in place for this. And it shows, because he's not making any sense. He's just word vomit. And it's funny to see how Chris just keeps applying pressure and keeps just upping the level of heat to keep him just dancing, back on his heels.
What made you decide to do this for the first time tonight?
Wow, it crossed my mind about I seen this show and I'm like,
You seen which show?
This one.
This show.
Yeah.
Oh, the truth. So he knows exactly what what the show is, who Chris Hansen is. It does show, again, just the level of shocked he must be, because why would you sit here and talk to Chris if you knew what the show was? Maybe I'm misjudging his intelligence level and he's really like a 2, and that could very well be true. I'm not going to argue for a 5, but it's just crazy how much info he gives Chris, and Chris is indulging him. Notice that Chris didn't call him out for lying about never having done this before. He's going to let him just talk.
And what was your reaction when you've seen the show before?
It was bad. It's just bad. That's all I can say.
What the people were doing was bad.
Yeah.
So he's admitting he's going to continue to incriminate him throughout this conversation, but it starts.
Now you say here that you like to pleasure people and be pleasured.
Yeah.
Now this is a 13-year-old girl.
Chris took a seat, man. He knew this guy was warmed up enough to throw on the griddle, so he took a seat because he was gonna put him through his paces.
Yeah.
You talk about how having sex for the first time may be painful for the girl, and then you sent these pictures.
Yeah.
You ever been in trouble before? You have been.
Yeah.
What was the actual criminal charge against you?
Having sex with a minor.
Boom. Number 1, his crazy hair, because he's sweating, pushing his hands through his hair. But yeah, he's continuing to just be led by the nose, and he knows that admitting this to Chris opens up a whole new path, a whole new world of possibility for Chris.
Sex with a minor, okay.
That's right. He's a convicted sex offender. In 1995, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of unlawful sexual intercourse. He says it was a big misunderstanding, that the girl showed him a fake ID saying she was 18.
Well, you've seen the show before, so you know that this is about the time.
So, I should have gotten the uncut, but that'll have to be another day. He goes into this rambling explanation of, she had a really convincing ID that says she was a driver's license that said she was 18. Ignoring the fact that what teenager would want to get an 18-year-old driver's license? Yeah, you could buy cigarettes, but why not just go for the 21? If it's that convincing, they're spending money on it. Like, why not just make yourself 21 and say you look young? So it's not even worth listening to his bullshit except for the humor value. So Damn, I wish I would have done the uncut. I just didn't have enough time tonight. I'm sorry, everyone. Man, we'll cover it in the future.
Time where I need to tell you who I am. I'm Chris Hansen, and I'm with Dateline NBC. And this is To Catch a Predator.
He's in no hurry. He knows what's waiting for him outside.
He is a defeated man. It's just wonderful to savor his mindset and the emotions he's feeling. Like, he knows he's fucked, and he's going to prison, and there's nothing he can do about it. And he's an hour and a half plus away from home. He's got a girlfriend back at the house. I think she has a kid who's younger, like 6, I want to say, but that's in the interrogation, which, again, we'll have to cover at a later date because it's a good one. But he knows that all that's gone. He also goes into details of how he travels around in the interrogation, he goes into how he travels around having, like, threesomes and group sex with other consenting adults. So he's a bit of a sex freak, or a sex addict, at least. And I think he's got more than just that going on, for sure. He's a creepy, sociopathic type character.
He's in no hurry. He knows what's waiting for him outside.
Sheriff's office, come on down. Come on. Put your hands up where we can see them. See palms, palms.
Interesting. They made him go out the back door, I believe, because Lauren was incoming. So they wanted to make sure Lauren didn't get suspicious. Even though I think the cop cars could have been out front and Lauren still would have gone inside.
All the way down. All the way down. Come on.
Later at the police station, he's brought into the interrogation room, read his rights, and starts answering questions.
And what were your intentions when you got here?
I was intentions to be pleasurable and pleasure her, but I might not have done the actual penetration. I just wanted to see how it went.
Damn, he's talking exactly like he was in the chat log. It's uncanny. It's this guy. I don't know. I'm not even gonna waste time trying to ponder it.
You know.
Okay. Now you're gonna have to define pleasurable for me.
Fellatio, having the lady have pleasure below, and likewise, I guess.
Having the lady have pleasure below. What? Why is he saying this?
He says he lives with his girlfriend and her 5-year-old son.
5, okay.
Does she know you chat?
Yes, but she didn't know about this. I told her it was a couple.
A couple?
Couple, 2 people, a man and a woman.
That you were coming to see?
Yeah.
She's like a couple, like a threesome, and he's like, no. Thinking that she didn't like understand the word or hear him. Pull. He's one of my favorites, this guy. I mean, top 5 for sure. I'd place him probably number 4, I would say.
For what?
I have pleasure with couples.
So she knows that you travel to have relationships.
He tells the agent about his prior conviction for sex with a minor and says he got probation. But later he was arrested for not reporting to his probation officer.
So I went back and done 37 days in the pen in Delaware.
He also admits to dating a teenager. He says she was 18, but he doesn't remember her name.
You lived with this girl and you didn't know her name.
I've had a lot of girlfriends.
He's so full of shit. Like, he realizes that he fucked up and he tries to back out of that one. And I'm just realizing that I might have confused the uncut with the interrogation, because he also explains what happened in that situation here. Oh man, I gotta watch the uncut post haste.
Well, I'm sure you have, Travis, but I want to know this one's name.
I don't know. I can see her face, but I can't picture her name.
How long did she live with you?
Fooling anyone.
Like all the other men arrested here in Kentucky, he pleads not guilty.
All right, so that is the end of the James Fowler original segment. James Travis Lurch Fowler. And he, number one, very memorable character. What am I saying? Very memorable Preto. Lots of crazy ass lines and just a general weirdo. And also one of the creepier, more sinister Pretos. He's up there for sure. We're going to have to do a rundown of the creepiest Pretos soon, along with some of the best, in my own personal opinion. So anyway, we'll wrap it up, and I think I'm going to do Jerry Griffith. So if you want to see Jerry Griffith, tune in tomorrow, and thank you so much to everybody who's listening. If you've made it this far, thank you if you subscribed. Truly appreciate every single one. It just honors me. It honors me that you listen. So I appreciate it, and your continued support is all I require to keep going. Still have plenty more in the 30 days of 30 Pretos. So tune in again, and I will catch you on the flip side.